Foot and mouth is a semi-well-known disease. It has been around for a while and has been one that people avoid. It's been making a comeback in the year of 22, especially in the area of Indonesia, where it's beginning to look like it may be out to kill tourism in Indonesia. Want to know more about foot and mouth and how it's spreading around Indonesia? Keep watching to find out. First, let's look at some facts about Indonesia. Indonesia is a country in Southeast Asia. It sits between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. There are over 7,000 islands on the country, which makes sense considering that it's been named the largest island country. There are, as of now, 275 million people who call Indonesia home. There are many animals around Indonesia, but not just any types of animals. In Indonesia, you can find over 100 animals that are on the endangered species list. Indonesia also has the highest population of people under 30 in the entire world. There are 130 million people in Indonesia under 30 years old, with only 8% being older than 60, which means that of the 250 million people that live in Indonesia, only less than 20 million people are over 60. Indonesia also has the biggest Buddhist temple in the entire world. It is called the Borobudur Temple and can be found in central Java. The Borobudur was created in the 9th century and has 14,060 relief panels on the walls. The temple is 9 platforms stacked atop each other, 6 being square while the remaining 3 are circular, and a central dome on top. Next, let's talk about foot and mouth disease. With a name like foot and mouth disease, there's no question it will be a nasty disease to contract. The disease will cause sores in one's mouth, as well as a rash that can be found on their feet and their hands. While this disease is not dangerous, it is still a very large inconvenience to those who fall victim to it. Aside from it oftentimes being quite painful, the rash is sometimes small and barely noticeable, but other times it can be raised with blisters that are in the process of opening. The disease is also not only an inconvenience to whoever has it, but to the people around them as well. The disease is incredibly contagious and can be spread by direct contact with somebody's unwashed hands or surfaces that are contaminated with excrement. The disease is not as dangerous to some people as it is to others. The disease is most commonly spread around children that are younger than 10, with the most likely to get it being children under 5 years of age. This does not mean that adults are immune. It's a bit of a rarity for adults to get the disease, but it's still very possible. Now, let's discuss how foot and mouth disease could be affecting tourism in Indonesia. With its many endangered animals and its largest Buddha temple, Indonesia has been a magnet for tourists for many years. While Indonesia still has its fair share of tourism, we may see it slow down in the near future, if not completely stop. While foot and mouth disease has been around for over 100 years, it started popping up badly in Indonesia around 4 months ago. Indonesia had 0 cases of foot and mouth disease in over 30 years, the last time being in 1986. Foot and mouth disease in Indonesia is a serious problem for the places around Indonesia. In July, Australian farmers demanded that Indonesia stop allowing tourists out of fear that the disease could wipe out the very expensive billion-dollar export industry. Farmers fear the disease as it can very badly affect cattle, goats, pigs, and sheep. Over 100 farmers from Colac demanded the federal government ban traveling to Indonesia that wasn't essential for 120 days or 4 months. This comes only 7 months after the country first reopened its borders for tourism on the 12th of January. As of the 13th of August, the borders have not yet been closed down. Next, let's talk about another time foot and mouth disease caused issues. Back in 2001, problems did arise due to the spread of foot and mouth disease, but it was not in Indonesia. That time it was in the United Kingdom. Across the majority of the British countryside, over 2,000 cases of foot and mouth disease were confirmed. In order to rid Britain of the disease, many sacrifices had to be made. Over 6 million cows and sheep had to be slaughtered in order to stop the disease, and it would end up working. The United Kingdom was foot and mouth disease free on January 14th of 2022, 11 months after the outbreak had first begun, meaning the disease had spread all over Britain for almost an entire year. It would eventually be discovered that the outbreak was spread by contaminated pigs at a Burnside farm, though it was not the pigs who were at fault. The pigs had gotten infected with the virus from contaminated meat that was a part of their swill. Of the 2,000 cases of foot and mouth disease spread along the Britain countryside, 893 of the cases were from Cumbria. The Netherlands were the worst non-UK country affected, with 25 confirmed cases. Next, let's look at some reasons some would advise against visiting Indonesia. While Indonesia has many things that would bring in tourists from all around the world, there are also many things that go on in Indonesia that people aren't sure about. One example is littering and pollution. Travelers who have traveled to Indonesia have said that there is so much trash and pollution in the waters that it's very unlikely to go for a swim without feeling nasty plastic bags and junk rubbing against you, which to many would ruin a vacation instantly. The streets of Indonesia are filled with people who have a million different ways to scam you out of your money. Even the authorities are in on it and will engage in schemes to take your money. Much like other busy places in the world, the traffic in Indonesia is very bad. It is even worse in the more populated islands like Sumatra, Java, and Bali. For some people, it can take many hours to get just from one part of the city to the other. Indonesia is also a no-go for animal lovers. The animals in Indonesia are horribly mistreated, to the point that a passerby may be made sick seeing the things that go on. Let's talk about some things you you should avoid doing at all costs when in Indonesia. If despite the reasons you've been told not to, you decide to visit Indonesia, you should keep in mind the unofficial laws of the land. The first thing should be a given, but do not mock religion, race, or ethnicity. Indonesia prides itself on the mutual respect shared between all of the different races and religions that inhabit the country. Drinking alcohol is also not exactly favored in Indonesia, as the laws are based upon the principles of Islam, and drinking alcohol is haram. Playing card games and placing bets on anything are also usually things you should not do in public places of Indonesia either. People visiting Indonesia should also refrain from doing drugs. Where most drugs are illegal in other countries, they are extremely illegal in Indonesia, and sometimes even result in the death sentence. It's also worth noting that the many residents of Indonesia still live a life that upholds the traditions of the cultures they claim. Tourists will find that it will do them very good to respect these traditions. Even if it doesn't, it still couldn't hurt to respect one's culture. Bottom line, if you're looking for a Vegas-like vacation, you should not go to Indonesia. Finally, let's talk about all of the news regarding Indonesia. Gas prices have been going up all around the world. United States officials have requested a price cap on Russian oil, which will put a limit on the amount a supplier can charge for the gasoline. The United States approached Indonesia for their say, and Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that she did not believe that a price cap will do anything to change the prices. She said that the prices were high due to demand outstripping supply, citing the war for the sole cause of the rising gas prices, saying that it was a disruption of supply. The United States, Japan, Australia, Singapore, and Indonesia are all participating in 2022's Super Garuda Shield exercise, which are an annual military exercise conducted between American military and Indonesia National Armed Forces. With 5 countries coming together to participate in the exercise, it makes the largest since it first began 11 years ago in 2009. Recently, Indonesia has revoked thousands of mining permits which reach out to over 3 million hectares. The decision was made in an attempt to tighten the sector's governance, as well as the plan for land redistribution. In total, 2,065 permits have been revoked so far. Indonesia has been a risky place to visit for a while, but now with the inclusion of foot and mouth disease, it is even riskier. Who knows if the country will shut down tourism for 4 months like the farmers asked, or if we'll have another Britain in 2001 situation on our hands.